Okay. I totally forgot to make the point that I was going to make. Are you surprised? We tend to get probably sidetracked. So I was talking about how comedy is dead, and the reason for that has to do with the culture being terrible and how people really don't have much to work with because they're just doing the same thing. There's plenty to work with if you're an outsider. But that outsider perspective is not welcomed. And it's not just because, oh, it's weird, it's conspiratorial. It's like, there's so much more at stake now. Before, it wasn't a big deal if you just had a different opinion. Before, it wasn't a big deal if you were racist. Now, it's such a big deal that people on the left want to talk about it nonstop. And people on the right want to just say racist stuff. That's not really funny. So it's like you either say true shit about primarily black people, because it's typically not about any other race, because anytime that they talk about racism, they're always talking about black people. Because there's no other race that's as problematic as them. So, yeah, you have all these white people that feel like they're digging in their heels or some shit by, like, saying something that's obviously racist. But it's just fucking lame. You know, it's lame because I expect it. And it's also lame because it's what the elite want. They want everybody to be divided and mad because it's easier to control all those people. And especially when they have an algorithm that's just feeding them information that goes along with their jaded-ass worldview. Okay? Now, what they talk about in relation to race realism, I mean, yeah. I typically don't disagree with any of that stuff. It's just that if it's politically incorrect, people tend to shut down. I'm not really into all the race stuff, mainly because I work with a bunch of black people. So there's a stereotype that blacks don't work, or they don't want to work. So I work with a bunch of black people that don't fit that stereotype. They might check some other boxes, but, you know, they're not jacking my car or jumping me or anything like that. So I can't give into that. Mainly because I've been friends with so many black people all throughout my life that don't fit those stereotypes. And so if you naturally think, or maybe not naturally, but, you know, it's been pressed upon you, like you keep seeing these instances with black violence, then yeah, you're going to keep focusing on that. And you're going to feel threatened by it. And I understand that. Especially as a white person, I understand that. But at the same time, I'm not going to fucking focus on that because I know the power of focusing on something. Just think about it like, what are those eye exams? You know, when they tell you to, like, look at different letters. It's like, you know when you look at something and it's blurry, like, there's that test that they do where it's like, it's blurry, like, which one's better? 1 or 2? 1 or 2? You know, I feel like that could be a psyop. No, but like, I don't know what point I was trying to make with that, but I was just thinking about, like, yeah, you focus on something If something comes into focus, it seems like it's so important, but it's not. You're just focusing on it. You know? I don't know what in the motherfuck that how that related to an eye exam or whatever. But I was just thinking about that, like those exams were like, yeah, you look at the letter E and it's really big. I don't know. I feel like there's a joke there. I don't know what though. It could just be fucking needle in a haystack and I'm just full of shit. But yeah, it seems like all these people that are obsessed with race are just like focusing solely on that, and it's making them really mad. And when you're mad, you can't say funny stuff. And that's why a lot of these conservative comedians aren't really funny, because they're too angry to be funny. Just like when the left was mad at Donald Trump just for existing, okay? They're mad at Trump supporters for just being Trump supporters. It's like, yeah, they're not going to say anything that's actually legit funny because their head's too far up their own ass. They can't see any of the other angles of that. I told y'all about that ice cream flavor, right? I came up with an anti-Trump ice cream flavor immediately after I saw the Ben and Jerry's protest ice cream flavor. This was back in like 2017 or 2018, something like that. But they came out with like the gayest fucking ice cream flavor out of spite for Donald Trump, which just proved my point. It said, "P can resist." That just makes you want to kill yourself, doesn't it? Okay, like, so yeah, within like 10 seconds, I came up with a much better, way more clever ice cream flavor. And I didn't even hate Trump. It was called Orange Pervert, okay? I thought that was really fucking clever. I never said this on stage. I should say this on stage because I need to drill in this point. That, like, yeah, when you're pissed off, you're just not... You can't think clearly. You're not at your most creative when you're pissed off. You're more likely to make a mistake. I know that many people would argue, well, I can get shit done. And yeah, that's true. Like, you're motivated. You're super motivated. But it's not, like... It's not spiritual. You know, like, creativity, I think, is a very spiritual thing. Even if it seems like it's coming from a bad place. I don't think that you can do many positive things with anger. Unless you twist it. And that's the thing that people can't do. And that's why comedy sucks, because people are just going one direction. No matter what political side they're on. And that's why their shit's so fucking boring. And so they can't see all these different angles of what they're talking about. Because they're too busy focusing on what they think is right and wrong with the world. But, you know, I trash women a lot. But I don't really want to, because I'm a female. But I see the issues with women. And I see how nothing that they do is going to make that better. Because I don't think it's just about politics. I think it's like the way that women are wired. We're just not satisfied with anything. We're just chronically empty, you know? And that's why they choose Twitter. You know? And the whole trad wife thing is such a fucking joke. And I'm not just saying that because I'm some bitter crazy cat lady, you know? I find that so funny, the way that they paint cat ladies. And I mean, I'm sure that I check some of those boxes. For sure. I know that I do. And I'm fine with that. But like, people just assume that if you're this, this, and this, you're happy. Or they assume if you're this, this, and this, you're miserable. And it's just so stupid. It's like, you need to look at everything on an individual basis. I mean, you can make these speculations about large groups of people. There are always going to be exceptions, right? But you're also not looking at like the underlying factors of the choices that people make. And I guess that's why I do like have empathy for women, because I see all this stuff we've been subjected to. I see these beauty standards being pushed on us. The reason why so many women are fine with being fat now is because for a long time, like, they were being told you gotta be skinny. It was never about health. It was never about women getting cardiovascular disease or diabetes or anything like that. It was just about women looking a certain way. So they've always tried to control women, and women are so dumb that they just go along with whatever society tells them. So that's why so many of them like are pumping their lips full of that, whatever that shit is. They're getting fucking Botox, and they got the fake lashes and fake nails and all this stuff. It's like, whatever's popular, people just do it. I mean, it's one thing if you actually want to do it. It's one thing if you actually find that shit attractive. It's another thing if you're just doing it to go along with the social trend. You see this nose ring? You have any idea how many people judge me? They think, oh, she's a liberal. She's a liberal. If I was a liberal, wouldn't I have that door knocker nose ring? I used to have my lip pierced. You can probably see it right there. There's a little hole there. I used to have my tongue pierced, my eyebrow pierced, all that. And I was not a slut, okay? At least not when I got the tongue ring, okay? Because I wasn't drinking. But I actually got my tongue pierced with this chick that I met at an AA meeting. And her name was also Amy. And she paid for me to get my tongue pierced because she was getting impulsive and wanted to get hers done. And I really didn't want to do it, but I just decided to do it because I had this partner in crime. And then she ended up going to jail, and she had to take her tongue ring out. Isn't that terrible? Well, luckily, because I didn't go to jail, I had my tongue ring for, God, like 10 more years after that. That was my favorite piercing, too, because it was just cool. That's the reason I got it, because I thought it was cool. Reason I got my nose ring. I just like facial piercings. I think they're really fun. You know? I don't even have my ears pierced. But I was so determined to get my nose pierced when I was 18. That's why I refused to let go of it. But yeah. I don't know, man. I just... I look a certain way, but when people get to know me, they're like, holy shit, you're a lot different than how you look. You're a lot different than like the way you come across or whatever. Well, yeah, maybe I'm using my life as an example to like teach people to not judge a book by its cover, because it's so easy to do, you know.
Really is. I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt that they're not whatever they seem to be. A lot of the times they are. But not all the time, though. Every once in a while, you'll get an anomaly. Like Amy Grant.